Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your JCN News for this Monday, October 26th. It's great having you back with us. House of Assembly members debating the resolution to extend the emergency orders until November 30th in the lower chamber this morning. Foreign Affairs Minister and Member of Parliament for North Abaco, Darren Handfield, led the debate in extending the orders. In supporting the extension, he says the emergency orders are critical for the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is important that all Bahamians know what we are facing with the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker. With unprecedented health, economic, and social dimensions, the coronavirus pandemic has caused the worst crisis in the modern history of our country. For us, the pandemic has raged since the spring. We sadly have had deaths. Our economy has been severely reduced due to the collapse of global travel. We continue to mourn those we have lost and to pray for the families who've lost loved ones.
Minister Handfield says he understands why many Bahamians are tired of the pandemic and want to return to their life before COVID-19, but advises Bahamians to be wise. He also warns that the worst is yet to come.
The pandemic is not close to being over. It will last well into next year. In fact, the world and the Bahamas may be currently heading into the worst period of the pandemic. In the Americas, Europe, and parts of Asia, the outbreak is getting worse. Across Europe, new and greater restrictions, lockdowns, and curfews are being implemented. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, I see and hear regular reports on the state of the pandemic globally and on emergency measures taken by others to combat this deadly virus.
Minister Handfield contends that anyone who says that these orders are not necessary in this crisis is being irresponsible, adding that government is not afraid to make tough decisions. Member of Parliament for Golden Gates, Michael Folks, in seconding the resolution, says the country is at a crossroad and the challenges and what lies beyond is daunting. Mr. Folks says, however, that Bahamians standing and working together at the crossroads as one people in unity of purpose can defeat COVID-19. While the opposition making it clear today that it will not support an extension, opposition leader Philip Davis, during his contribution to the debate, asked the minister-led administration to provide the data which suggests a 7 p.m. curfew would be more productive than a 10 p.m. curfew, and data which indicates that weekend lockdowns are effective.
We asked as well how many businesses have closed their doors due to these restrictions, even as they fail to stop transmission of the virus. Where is the scientific evidence that supports closing beaches to Bahamians when the virus is mainly transmitted inside, not outside, when people are increasingly crowded into homes, when everyone is pushed to their limit and needs a break? He says, as they are now confirming, that he is following science. We say, show us the science. Mr. Speaker, these matters is what we want to have a debate about here in Parliament. Let the man who's making these decisions attempt to justify them before the people and your representatives.
Mr. Davis adds that the Bahamas has become a case study for how not to manage a health crisis.
We continue to rank at the bottom of the countries globally when it comes to our country's response and management of COVID. I said, I hope you recollect, right? In July, Mr. Speaker, our borders were opened without the resources in place to stop any new cases of the virus from proliferating, as the member has demonstrated in producing the dashboards. He's demonstrated. And thus a few cases, 104, turned into more than 6,000 and counting. This was not inevitable. It did not have to be this bad. This is what government failure Looks like.
Now, on a point of order, Member of Parliament for West Grand Bahama and Bimini, Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe, pointed out that countries like the U.S., France, and the United Kingdom have challenges with the spread of the virus. In response, Mr. Davis says this.
The member for West Grand Bahama and Bimini has just fallen into the narrative of the government. They have become expert at pointing at other countries that are failing to contain the virus. Yet, there are many countries, including many developing nations, who are succeeding. Many are succeeding, even in this region. I pointed to Barbados, I can point to others, Turks and Caicos, Haiti. Right, I go down the line. Yes, they are succeeding, right? A strong leader would look to the successful nations, not the nations that's failing, and be determined to make sure our country was among them. It's infuriating to see this government signal defeat when so much is at stake. Looking at the failing nations, let's look at those who are successful.
Mr. Davis contends that the competent authority has run out of ideas and says the healthcare system has collapsed and doctors and nurses need reinforcements as well as more resources to be able to operate effectively. He adds that more contact tracers need to be hired and trained. Senator Dwight Sawyer sworn in at Government House today to act as Minister of State for Grand Bahama. This move comes as Senator Kwesi Thompson resigned his post temporarily, as announced by Cabinet Office yesterday. The Cabinet Office announced that the temporary appointment of Senator Sawyer assists Senator Thompson temporarily to facilitate the business of the Senate during the absence of ministers in the Senate who are in quarantine after possible exposure to COVID-19 last week. After this temporary arrangement, Senator Thompson will be sworn in and resume his duties as Minister of State. Senators met this afternoon briefly, where Minister Sawyer tabled a number of documents, including the resolution to extend the emergency powers order. Senate was adjourned and will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m. The Ministry of Health yesterday confirmed 56 cases of COVID-19, 34 of those on New Providence, 9 on Grand Bahama, 4 on Eleuthera, 1 on Abaco, and 7 with locations pending. These new cases bring the total in-country to 6,466. New Providence still leading in the amount of confirmed cases by island with 4,970 confirmed cases. Grand Bahama is second with 734 and Abaco in third with 168. Health officials also state that out of yesterday's confirmed cases, 23 of them were male and 33 of them were female. There's 2,307 active cases of COVID-19 at this time. 109 of them are hospitalized. 101 of the hospitalized cases are considered moderately ill, and 8 are in the intensive care unit. The death toll stands at 132. Non-COVID related deaths account for 26, and there's currently 14 deaths under investigation. The Ministry of Health also confirms 39 new recoveries, bringing the total in that category to 3,987. There's been 34,385 tests completed to date, 297 tests completed yesterday, 195 of which came back negative. You're watching JCN News. When we return, PLP Deputy Leader claims that the country is in a trifold crisis. Hear what Bahamas Christian Council President has to say about the emergency powers orders, and police need your help in finding a missing girl. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.